Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 10th meeting of the Lafayette Design Review Commission. We will start the meeting with a roll call.
John Gray is here. Eugene Sim here.
Glenn Cass here.
And Armand Khalil is present. Today, I have a short announcement here. The Design Review Commission has returned in-person meetings. As a courtesy, members of the public may participate remotely in these meetings. Please refer to the agenda for information about how to provide public comments, either in person or via Zoom. Remote participants in the Zoom calls will be allowed to speak live. However, their video will not be shown and screen sharing will not be an option. Finally, since the city cannot guarantee the public's access to teleconferencing technology, it might be interrupted, and the option for the public to participate remotely is only a courtesy. If technical difficulties arise for participants using the teleconference option, the meeting will continue unless required otherwise by the Brown Act. So with that, we have 4 commissioners present tonight, and with the quorum, we are going to continue. The second option, the second item on the agenda is an adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll say.
So we adopt the agenda.
Do a roll call.
And then we'll call.
And the roll call, yes. Next item on the agenda.
No, do a roll call on the acceptance.
Sorry. Yeah. So we are going to vote for the adoption of the agenda.
Aye. Glenn is aye.
Eugene, aye. John is aye.
And Armand is aye. So we are going to move on to the next item. Public comments for items not on these or an upcoming agenda and within the purview of the commission. Do we have any public comments that's regarding an item which is not on the agenda? Okay. So next item, the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve, or is there any recommendation for provisions for the minutes of the meeting on March 13th?
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
So I was absent. I cannot vote, but
Okay, so Glenn is aye.
Eugene is aye. John is aye.
okay. So the meeting minutes are adopted and approved. With that, we are going to move to the next item, which is a study session. We don't have any projects that needs to be for the study session, and then we are going to move on to the next item, continue public hearings. The first item is item 6A, GR08-21 and GR03-21. Thornfield request for a design review and grading permit to move to cubic yards of earth for the construction of 1,945 square foot in 1 and 2 story additions to an existing 2,252 square foot 2-story single family residence with a proposed maximum ridge height of 26 foot 3.5 inches at One Pleasant Place. We have Samira as the presenter tonight. Samira.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner. I just wanted to confirm if you can hear me clearly. Okay. So good evening, commissioners, staff, and members of the public. The DR08-21 and GR03-21 Thornfield application requests for design review and grading permit for renovating and expanding portions of the existing 2-story home with maximum ridge height of 26 feet 3.5 inches. The property is located at One Pleasant Place, access through private driveway of Pleasant Hill Road that serves 3 properties at 1, 3, and 5 Pleasant Place. This map shows the distance of the proposed additions from the neighboring residences and the proposed location of the coke, oak, and strawberry trees. The subject property shares property lines with 4 neighboring properties, and all 4 neighboring properties sit on a lower elevation. The existing residence sits on a naturally elevated, relatively flat portion of the site to the northeast side. And the site topography is downslope towards the south and the west. The blue line indicates the buildable area that meets the R20 zoning setback requirement. The established south side setback is proposed to reduce from 60 feet to 45 feet, which is still 30 feet more than the required 15 R20 zoning code requirement. The established rear yard setback is also proposed to reduce from 75 feet to 50 feet, which is 35 feet more than the required 15 feet setback in the R20 zoning district. The portion highlighted in blue shows the proposed 1,945 square feet gross floor area in 1 and 2nd story additions, including the new 485 square feet garage. And the portion highlighted in orange are the 2 decks totaling 385 square feet area, where the side deck is proposed on level 1 and the rear deck is proposed on level 2, elevated about 7 feet 8 inches from the base. This application was previously discussed at the DRC at the March 13 DRC meeting, where the Commission provided a recommendation for design modification, detailed drawings, landscaping, and exterior lighting to address privacy concerns. The Commission requested to provide additional landscape screening to mitigate the perceived massing impacts and privacy impacts when the additions are viewed from the homes on lower elevation. The Commission also requested to explore ways to eliminate the impact of the proposed deck by either removing it, lowering its position, or adding a step down to help with potential sightline issues. Overall, the project design and building articulation is the same as previously discussed. The displayed exterior elevation drawing shows the previous drawings in red, and then the revised drawings are overlaid in green. The revised massing involves a slight lowering of the proposed roof pitches to align the highest roof peak with the existing highest roof peak. As you can see here, the roof connecting the main spaces to the master bedroom is lowered to 4-on-12 pitch, lowering the roof by 1 feet and 5 inches. The number of exterior lighting has been reduced, and the project is now proposing downward facing dark sky friendly exterior light fixtures. The massing and height added to the existing residence is highlighted here in blue. That shows the 6-on-12 master suite gable roof revision and the deck. The main addition roof is lowered to 6-on-12 gable roof to align with the existing larger roof over the kitchen. This lowers the master suite roof by 11 inches. And the previous proposal and overall the project is proposing an increase of 1 feet 6.5 inches from the existing maximum ridge height of 24 feet 9 inches. The proposed master bedroom deck roof the proposed master bedroom suite still remains. However, the roof is lowered to 4.5 on 12 pitch. This lowers the deck roof by 11.5 inches. The portion highlighted in blue shows the addition and the height increase. The portion boxed in blue shows the addition to the side, which is set addition 48 feet away from the rear facade. So it's closer to the front facade than the rear facade. The proposed doors and windows are positioned in alignment with the existing ones.
Excuse me, Samina. We lost like the last 20 seconds. Do you mind just repeating?
Sure.
Thank you.
The portion highlighted in blue shows the addition and height increase. The proposed the portion boxed in blue shows the addition to the side, which is set an additional 48 feet away from the rear facade because it is located closer to the front addition. The proposed doors and windows are positioned in alignment with the existing ones, resulting in a more unified design. Additionally, the new windows and doors are planned to be placed at the same level as the existing one, aiming to not add additional impact on the privacy. Although it was not explicitly called out in the staff report, the project is now proposing a revised colors and material palette intended to lessen the bulk of the house following the characteristics of the existing farm-style residence, featuring a symmetrical facade, 6-on-12 pitched gable roofs, and wood elements. The project is proposing darker gray tone walls with board and batten siding and stained wood elements. The commission requested detailed site sections and drawings that shows the existing site conditions, spaces on the neighbors' properties, and trees in relation to the existing home and the neighboring adjoining properties to provide clarity on how privacy and views are affected. The updated project plan provides site sections that show the view cone from the adjacent properties, proposed oak and strawberry tree placement, and site conditions on the subject property. However, the site drawings do not include information about the existing barriers that is currently present on the subject and the neighboring properties, which includes landscaping features and mature shrubs, planting boxes, and also there's a grapevine arbor style fence. Also, there seems to be some discrepancy in the estimated heights of the neighboring homes. The drawings indicate that the residents at 1294 Candy Court and 1293 Quan Court are estimated to be 23 feet and 27 feet tall. However, the neighbors' comments suggest that the residences are actually 13 feet and 17 feet tall. The revised drawings continues to show the 6 to 7 feet tall palm trees at full grown maturity. However, these are, as the picture shows, it's zooming in. So these trees have the potential to grow taller in the future, but they are not fully grown at this time. So here is the picture that shows the existing mature shrubs, the planted box, the palm trees, and existing vegetation, including the wire fence with for grapevines. So these details are not shown on the section drawings. This exhibit shows the view of One Pleasant Place from the shared fence, from the backyard and pool area of 1294 Candy Court, showing the story poles and the existing and proposed screening, which includes the oak and the strawberry trees. This exhibit shows the view of One Pleasant Place from the shared fence at 1294 Quan Court and existing landscaping on both properties. Part of the staff recommendation is to propose a combination of drought-tolerant evergreen shrubs and trees where there are screening gaps in the line of sight, such as this location. Staff also recommends replacing the existing 5-foot tall wood fence with a maximum 6-foot tall good neighbor style fence, or providing a dense vegetation for screening along the shared property lines at the south side. This will ensure that the screening provided, the existing screening provided by the good neighbor style fence, which is present along the north and east sides of the property, is consistent all around and provide additional screening. Prior to publication of the staff report, staff received 2 letters from the neighbors at 1294 Candy Court and 1293 Quan Court requesting design modifications to reduce the height and match to the current highest ridge, eliminate the second-story deck, ensure the adequacy of the grading and drainage plan, careful placement of windows and exterior lightnings, and placement of mature landscape screening. After the publication of the staff report, staff received 1 letter from the neighbor at 1292 Quan Court in opposition to the proposed project. For staff analysis and site visit notes, staff concludes that the difference in elevation and the presence of obstructions such as the fence, vegetation, and proposed landscape screening between the residences would likely limit the line of sight and help mitigate the privacy impact. To further mitigate potential privacy impacts, staff recommends project-specific condition to provide a detailed landscape plan using a combination of shrubs and trees to create a natural barrier when looking south, southeast, and southwest from the subject property. The type of trees and shrubs shall be proposed by a professional landscaper or arborist to ensure that the chosen plants are appropriate for the specific location, and recommendation shall be provided to properly plan and plant and maintain the planting to ensure optimal growth and screening. With that, staff recommends the Design Review Commission review the project, conduct a public hearing, find the project exempt from CEQA, and adopt DRC Resolution 2023-07, approving the project subject to conditions that includes staff recommendation. With that, I conclude my presentation, and I'm available if there are any questions.
Thank you, Samina. Any questions for the staff? Okay, so applicant presentation.
Hello, my name is Chris Folliers. I'm the designer of the project, and the clients, the owners are here as well. Samina, I sent you a presentation for today, although yours was better than mine.
I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't receive a presentation from you today. I'm checking my inbox, but to my knowledge, I haven't received one.
Okay.
Was that the previous one?
You can join Zoom and share your presentation that way.
I can do that. It might take me a while to join on Zoom. Is that too slow?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Where am I doing that? Sorry about that.
You go to the city's website on the calendar. And like, it should be DSC. Click on that link.
Thanks. Okay, Samina, can I share my screen while you're sharing your screen?
You should be, I'm promoting these panels right now. So once you move over, you should be able to share your screen.
What's that?
You should be getting a pop-up to join as a panelist. And that way you can share your screen.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I wanted to focus, that is a little fuzzy for you all. No, it's clearing up. Thank you for your patience. I wanted to focus our revisions on the comments we heard from the last design review meeting. Mainly privacy issues for the neighbors and issues of bulk and color that were part of the staff comments, but less pronounced in the conversations here. With the clients, we did our best job estimating where those targeted trees and shrubs would be. We agreed with the comments, and as you see on this overall plan, we targeted an array of trees and low shrubs towards the view areas. So you'll just see those here too. So we as best we could target the new planting in those areas. We did a plan version and a section version of these view cones. It's very hard to imagine. These are three-dimensional situations. But in plan view, we went out there, targeted where those view areas were, where those gaps in the views were. And here we've documented in the plan. So we see some, straight to the bottom of the page, and the majority of them targeted towards the right. With that, as Samina showed, we did the section views, which attempt to understand where a standard window would be on the neighbor property, and both the top of the peak and the bottom of the sill of our proposed property, and to create that cone. What we're proposing is a tree that would grow into a mid-sized tree with a dense bulk. And we'll see that on native. It's on the planting sheet. An evergreen, and then a low, which you can see in the light green, a low green shrub closer to the property line that would hopefully catch those lower views. We did our best job to estimate what the view from the new deck would be. So the clients, we measured it out on the plan, got on a ladder, did our best job to photograph the views towards the subject to the adjacent properties from the deck, from the proposed deck. And then there's the other one. And those are part of Samina's packet. And then the landscape plan is just showing the species. I think Samina today is talking about a professional landscape designer. These are more based on my experience, and the client has a lot of experience successfully planting trees, and on both on his property and his other properties. And then Samina did a good job of describing Samina did a good job describing what we did in terms of refining the bulk of the project. So I won't. She did a great job, so I won't go into that. Suffice it to say, we made the trims and the base wall colors more wall color were closer together, which might be perceived as a more unified bulk. And this shows the new revised dimensions, which Samina talked about quite well. And these are repeats of what Samina showed in her superimposition. I think that's going to be it. I mean, we did see the letter that came in today, or came to our attention today, and that addressed a couple of things. It addressed the aesthetics of the project again, on how the aesthetics of that block are different than the aesthetics of the lower blocks. And what's interesting about that is that the subject property is the historic farmhouse that was there, which we're trying to work with that aesthetic. And that aesthetic is consistent with the cul-de-sac that we are in. Ironically, the land that the lower adjacent houses are in used to belong to the farm. So which history, is presiding as the image. And then there was a comment on a potential conflict of interest that I know one of the commissioners professionally, and I just wanted to state that was an equal relationship. We were both taught at the same institution. We've never worked together in a boss employee relationship. We've never been in a business relationship with that commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are going to move on to the public comments. Benjamin Paul.
Actually,
No questions for applicant, but
Oh, sorry. Any questions for applicant?
there aren't. I don't have.
Okay. Thank you. So, Jennifer?
Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, Design Review Commission and staff online. At the last meeting, the commission requested the applicant provide explicit site sections showing how neighbors are impacted by privacy and views. We agree with staff that the updated drawings the applicant provided in that respect are insufficient. My husband and I sent in photos, I think you received that, pinpointing on the maps where the photos were taken to really try and clearly show you. And we gladly answer any questions on that. At the, for instance, at the last meeting, Commissioner Kaz had mentioned my height was standing a little bit back from the fence. My husband and his tall height was standing at the fence. He's over 6 feet tall. The fence is not quite 6 feet tall. So just it's on a downward slope and it's not consistent. So we'd be happy to explain any of those photos to you, because I think that really gives you a great sense of the issues that we are dealing with. We appreciate Commissioner Gray's comments at the last meeting when he stated that it's especially important to look at visual privacy between the proposed deck and the adjacent neighbors down the hill, and privacy is a legitimate concern. We agree with the comment that Commissioner Cass made at the last meeting that he does not think the deck can remain because it will not be able to hide it, and further noted that it draws people outside, and we request very much, we request that the second story deck be removed. We agree with staff recommendation that the applicant replace the old existing wood fence with a matching good neighbor style fence that exists on the north and east of their property. However, that property. We're also requesting retaining walls on the property. We're at a lower elevation and there's some retaining walls on one corner, but nothing. So on the other side, we would like to remove the deciduous plum trees because those are just going to lose their leaves again. So we're going to lose privacy at that point. So we totally agree with consulting an arborist to plant non-deciduous mature landscaping along our fence. We noticed the windows, while we understand that they're at the same height as they were before, it's much closer. And I feel like that hasn't been addressed yet, much closer to the neighboring homes. Lastly, I had put in a speaker slip, but Quant is spelled incorrectly in the minutes. It's a D in it, and also Zagorowski, our neighbors, their last name was spelled wrong. So I just wanted to correct the minutes as well.
Thanks for noting.
But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for the speaker, if I may. And I mean, maybe the applicant will have to answer this. Between your group, can you show us where the deciduous trees are, the plum trees that I mentioned?
Sure. I have pictures of it on.
I'd like to see on a site plan.
Oh, yeah,
You
sure.
understand
It
where
should
that
be.
is and
Yeah, oh,
maybe-
I do.
I don't know if Samina or the applicant could best point those out, whether they're really a part of the proposed screening or not.
They are. I'd be happy to show you. Sure. Sorry, to go up there?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, great, please.
Sure. There's another photo.
Pointer. Oh, got a laser pointer here.
There you go. Thanks. Okay, not to be. Am I losing it?
You're changing the screen.
You know?
Oh, no, it's
Here.
got a control as well. in
It's
it?
a control. I don't wanna-
Now we're in trouble.
I did not expect that.
Okay, good point.
But I won't touch the screen. But it does say it says plum tree. So there's a plum tree. It's actually, the plum, it's actually a plum tree here and it kind of like, right, it's not quite there on our property, but that one is a little bit more in on our property. So it is pretty much there. That-
Okay,
I
so,
think that, yeah, it says.
so
plum here.
those are existing trees and
That plum, yes.
I think,
So they could remain, you just need another tree,
Well, I mean, I don't think-
intermediary.
I think the point is they're not really a part of the screen year round.
Exactly, that's my point, exactly. Mhm. And in the staff's plan, it said to plant deciduous trees. I don't know if that was a mistake. I think it meant non-deciduous, I would think.
Samina, in your condition 13, I think you meant evergreen rather than deciduous.
Oh, yes, Commissioner, I'll fix that. It's evergreen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So next question, Greg Zagorowski.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. Thank you. I hope this whole event will come to a reasonable solution. I don't have any pictures other than what we sent in today. We're on Quant Court opposite the street from the Pauls. And it occurred to me that as we looked out our front window, it looks like with the proposal, the houses are just kind of stacked up, one on top of another, and it just created an odd view. I did my unprofessional best to try to Photoshop the proposal onto where the story poles were. And so the main objection is, in addition to supporting our neighbors, of course, is the just the view from the other side. It looks odd that these houses are stacked up the way the proposal is drawn. And one thing that Jennifer mentioned was about the retaining wall. We had mud flowing into the court this year from mud flows down the hill. So it wasn't even something I thought about, but I think it's an important consideration when you're at a lower elevation. And that is the essence of the comments. Glad to.
Thank you. Thank you. So is there anybody on the Zoom that have a question? So with that, we are going to move to Commissioner.
No, he gets.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh,
Benjamin Paul?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just gonna do a quick summary, things that we're mainly very concerned about. We're really in opposition to that deck. It's a lookout for the entire neighborhood. We mentioned the retaining walls, we mentioned the plum trees that are deciduous and need to be removed. We feel very strongly that it be an independent arborist that we can trust. And again, because we've seen trees planted there 10 years ago on our property that haven't grown. It's really, really rough conditions for plants. Please focus or pay some attention to the drainage, the grading and the erosion. The lighting we appreciate. And then of course, we also appreciate the fact that windows can be positioned so that we're not being observed. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So, applicant, you have time, 3 minutes for rebuttal.
5 minutes.
5 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay, I'll just say that on the subject property, as Samina pointed out, is at minimum 35 feet from the setback lines. All the mitigation of construction that would be part of the building permit would mitigate erosion. That if there's failed excavation near the property line, that would be probably a separate project. In terms of, I think the clients feel that landscape screening is the best mitigation in this case. It provides qualities for both sides of the property. I think fences are expensive and a 1-foot fence change, I don't think is gonna, I think that's a hardship on the clients because the cost of a new 6-foot fence for the mitigation that it'll provide of 1 foot seems a bit extreme to me. The deck seems important. The deck seems important for a couple of reasons. Farmhouses and aesthetics had indoor-outdoor space. Yes,
Could I ask you to show the section image that shows that deck while you discuss it?
sure. Samina, I think it's one of the elevations. I think that one,
The one that shows the sidelines.
oh, okay. So it'd be the 1.4 probably.
I'm making an interruption here. You shouldn't be charged for the time.
Yeah, you scroll down a little bit. I think that last one will show it a little bit better. As Samina pointed out, even the deck is a great distance away from the properties, much farther than property to property down on that court or the side yards where we pushed the whole addition as far away as possible from that corner. We do feel that indoor-outdoor spaces are an important part of Lafayette. And we also feel that a landscape screening solution, we're fully in support of. And on the site, the clients have planted successful trees. There are many mature trees on the property. If you go to the on the side of the Pleasant Place, they've planted trees there probably 10 years ago.
8 years.
8 years ago that are fully covering the house on that side. Probably Samina can attest to it when she's visited that property. So the clients do have a successful track record of plant screening on that side. That side was mutually beneficial both for the client, also to mitigate the noise from Pleasant Hill Road. I don't know if there was another comment I missed, but happy to. Was there one I missed? I'll leave it there.
Thank you. So with that, we are going to move to commissioners for comments. Do you want to start?
Sure, I can start.
Sure. If there are no more public comments, so we are going to move on to commissioners' comments.
Okay, so I will start. Before I talk specifically about the project, I'd like to make a general comment about what it is to live in a community with houses all together. We are going to be aware of our neighbors. That is a given. I see my next door neighbors, and the house next door is not invisible to me. Now, that said, I don't want their window looking into my yard. I don't think they want my window looking into theirs. The house as it stands today is visible to the houses down the hill. And what this proposal is suggesting is it's going to be a little more visible. But with the proposed screening, I think it will be less visible. I think that in general, the applicant has been making efforts to be responsive to the neighbors' legitimate concerns about privacy. And I believe it's moving in the right direction. So that said, I think that the staff recommendations are good ones. The trees that are proposed, I think, look like they're going to help a lot. Are they going to be enough? It's kind of hard to tell. We do our best to analyze with site diagrams and that sort of thing. I think Samina's suggestion that, we actually look at this as things go in and make sure that the screening is adequate, I think is a good one. If the screening is dense enough, then I would agree that the fence will be redundant. But the screening does need to be dense. It also is has to be understood by the neighboring properties that the trees aren't mature on day one. And so it's going to be more visible in the beginning. Ultimately, I do think that the house will be less visible than it is today when the landscape matures. As far as the roof, the proposed change in the roof height, I think that is a concession that the applicant is making. I personally don't think it's a very noticeable change, and that from down the hill, whether the roof is like that or that, I'm just not sure anybody would really notice. But so I don't have a strong opinion. on the original versus the proposed design, I'm fine with that. The color change, while the color that was proposed last time was very much compatible with the adjacent homes, there's a lot of off-white in that neighborhood. I think toning it down into a sort of a quiet green does make the house less visible. So I think that's a nice suggestion on the part of the applicant. The lighting improvement, clearly responds to the comment. Some of the other comments I would say may be legitimate. I don't know, but they're not really the purview of this commission. Regarding the stability or lack of stability of the slope on the site. I believe there was a geotechnical report. Samina, am I right? There was a geotechnical report on this property?
Yes, there is one.
So I did not see any slide or erosion or stability concerns raised in the report. If there are, and the city engineer would review that, that's a separate issue from the construction of the house, which I don't think impacts it either way. So I support the project. I think that the screening needs to be, maybe somewhat more than what you're showing on the drawing so far, but that landscape screening will make the house less visible even than it is today.
Thank you, John.
Okay, yeah, my turn. So I think John, Commissioner Gray spelled out a lot of the things that I would also want to chime together on, and I agree with you said. One comment I'd like to make is that this applicant, the architect and the application, they have responded to our comments from the last time, I think to the directions that we gave, and I think the staff report that Sabina put together is very comprehensive, and if the applicant could take and own up to all the Samina's recommendation, I would be totally supportive of the staff report tonight. And what I would offer is one more condition or an idea is that sometimes you don't know until you build the project. The project gets built, then there could be what is called a review, like a 1-year review to see how the trees grow, how it screens that area, and see how it really looks when it's built with the trees and all, because it's going to get built, right? I think this is a significant improvement to what is there. And I think that what I see is that there's sensibility to the neighbor from how you see out there. But I think a review would be something like, I don't know, 6 months, or it could be 1 year to see how the plants and trees grow. And then that way you could see the weathering conditions between the autumn, fall to see how the foliages occur. But I think tonight we are very clear that the deciduous tree is not the way to go. The evergreen is the way we would recommend for sure. So it's always covered. But I think that's what I would add additionally. I'll review in about 6 months or 1 year to give it a clear opportunity for the foliage and the vegetation to be fully built out. And then if it's not enough, then that the neighbor and the applicant could understand, because we're going to direct you to kind of look at that together to say, yeah, it's done the job. You guys are okay with it. Or the other side would say, we should try this additional measures to help accommodate the sensibilities of that site. Okay, this is about the deck, the second story deck issue as well. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I think there's been improvements. Reduction in height wasn't substantial, not only a foot, but it is taking it down a little bit from what the story poles were showing. I think the landscaping is the key element. The shielding by the landscaping is definitely, and my comment last time is I didn't think that you could hide that deck, but when I look at the cross section, that's why we asked them to do those sections like that. It may require a series of trees in there, but I think it can be done and it can be successful. Along the lines of what Eugene was saying, is I would encourage that actually the landscaping, the larger landscaping be part of the early package on the project. So in other words, if we are able to break ground in 2023, that we actually get some of those trees in at an opportune time this fall. And we can start having some growth associated with the next winter months. So we wouldn't have to wait to the end of the project and start planting the trees in the last month before you're occupying, but get some of that growth started right away. Yes, the use of an arborist. Again, I made the suggestions about the cork oak because I have that same situation about sandstone, and my cork oak is probably my pride and joy of my yard because it grew so fast, okay, in that situation. And it does such a great job. But evergreens are the way to go. As far as the plum tree goes, I'm not adverse to leaving it there, but really situating. I think one thing you have to understand is that you're going to see this house. We're not going to build a forest that creates no visibility whatsoever. But it will not really impinge a lot. It should not impinge a lot on your privacy. Because the nature of that is that people are looking out into the trees, not into your backyard. And that's what we're trying to do, and vice versa.
Thank you, Glenn. And I agree with all the comments from my fellow commissioners. I think the design of the house is beautiful in its own, and this is very well conceived. Though I share this concern of the neighbors in terms of the privacy and also in terms of the height of the building. I visited the site, and I was standing at the end of the concourse, and I could see the three Pleasant Place house. It was very visible, and I can imagine you would have the same view from the courtyard of all of those houses, because now they are shielding the house is shielding the addition of the One Pleasant Place, but you could see the same kind of looming effect or looming impact from the backyards. So I think the privacy is the key here, and I defer to the comments from Glenn and John and Eugene about the privacy and additional screening with vegetation and landscaping. And yes, with that, if you want to just make a motion, just summarizing all the comments.
Well, can I make one more comment?
Sure.
That tree location diagram looks like it was not clearly either precise, or there's a different opinion where these trees are located.
Mhm.
I would strongly suggest that it be measured and documented as an as-built condition of this tree location, so that there's no conflict about where the trees are.
Mhm.
So the neighbors and everyone knows exactly where the trees are, so we can evaluate in 6 months or 1 year that these are where they are, and maybe they want a tree or however.
In terms of consultation with the third-party arborist, could that be part of the conditional approval, or staff, do you have
Tree
in
survey.
terms of the
Location.
logistics?
We could do that.
Okay.
Condition.
Okay. Okay. So does anyone want to make a motion?
Before we make a motion, do we want to resolve the fence? It seems like we're up in the air with our 8 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet. Good neighbor fence, the grapevine fence, and
I'm sorry.
So let me ask you a question. The existing fence, that is the fence that Samina, you suggested might be increased. That is an opaque fence, is that correct? That's 5 feet? And you're recommending replacing it with a higher fence?
Yes, there's an existing good neighbor style fence that runs along the east and north property lines, and I have this shows the fence shared between 3 Pleasant Place and 1 Pleasant Place, and that is continued along the north and east side. And after some point, this fence starts, which is around 5 feet tall. I'm not sure if it is 5 feet tall, but that's like my approximate guess. So my recommendation was to either provide dense vegetation that is around the south property lines, or to replace the existing 5 foot tall fence and continue this 6 foot tall fence. And I also don't know if this is 6 foot tall or not, but that's what the zoning code allows, to have 6 foot tall fences on property lines.
So it'll be a variance.
So it would be a.
No.
To go with the-
Well, if you went with 8,
Yeah. if we did-
I think 6 foot is fine. I mean, you can take a plant like wax myrtle and put it near the fence, and the wax myrtle will be 12 feet high.
The existing is 5 foot high, you think that's
Well,
okay? The existing is 5 feet, approximately.
Well, it's not uniform with the adjacent fences, so I can't see a problem with bolstering it into more compatible with the other property lines. To a 6 foot fence.
So in sensitive to neighbors, you know, we want to kind of make sure this piece at least is controllable and doable. So if we did what Glenn is talking about, Glenn, that datum line that Samina shows with that shadow point or the half tone, is it like a brown tone line? That would be higher than that, right?
No, well, I believe that's
You'll
a
be at
6
that
foot
same
fence.
range. Okay.
I think that's a 6 foot fence.
Oh,
I thought we heard from Samina that the
That's
adjacent
8.
fence was 8 feet tall.
that's 8.
The one shown at the top
Eight
right
feet
hand
is
side.
from
The one
the-
that's on, the one that's with the
At the behind.
trellis
Yeah,
or
at
the,
back. That's
that's an
6.
8 foot high?
That's 6. Looks like 6.
This one is approximately 5 foot tall. It was staff interpretation that this is 6 foot tall. And Jennifer
Yeah.
Paul stated in her letter that this is actually 8 foot tall.
Oh.
So, um,
I want to do everything I can as one of the commissioners to help the neighbors be comfort that we're at least doing this part where we can control. And so if that, what Samina drew there shows that we're not able to see the other house or there are any bits of it, but I think it's kind of comforting for
Right.
that part. At least we can do that part. you know.
Mhm.
I would really shoot hard to do whatever we can to accommodate our neighbors on that one. They don't have to be bothered by the privacy issue or pollution of light coming over, or even noise. I'm just making up all these things, but those are issues I think they're concerned.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I would support replacing that
Give it
kind
to
of dilapidated fence with a 6 foot fence
Yeah.
that is
It
kind of
doesn't
current
look that-
standard privacy fence.
Yeah, yeah. And even put plants or trees out in addition to it. Have
And,
pleasant tree
and,
out
and
there.
I believe, Samina, that's consistent with the recommendation that you've in your draft conditions.
yes, Commissioner.
Okay, so
I haven't added a condition for the fence if it's a recommendation, but I'll add one too for the fence as well.
I would support that.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, we are gonna, do you want to make a motion? or
Oh, if I may,
Sure.
since you weren't at the
Previous,
meeting,
right?
can you just clarify that you read the minutes and
Yes, I did, yes. I visited site, I watched the video of the previous presentation and.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the resolution, the draft resolution that's been proposed here with just a couple of minor modifications. One is that in condition 13, drought tolerant deciduous shrubs, I believe was intended to be drought tolerant evergreen shrubs. And the second, whether it's appropriate to be part of that same condition 13, or a separate condition, that we do replace the 5 foot fence with a 6 foot. We're calling it a good neighbor style privacy fence.
Mhm.
To clarify further, match the other fence.
This side.
To make it aesthetically,
To make it aesthetically compatible with the adjacent fence.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eugene.
most welcome. Oh, and also, can I make your motion? I don't know what the
Friendly amendment.
was. I'd like to add to that motion, I mean, I could do 6 months and 1 year, but it's up to you commissioners, but I would like to have a checkoff for the neighbors and the applicant to make sure they're all friendly and, you know, loving each other. So we want to make sure that they're comforted on that
So
opportunity.
a 1 year. staff
1 year review, yeah, to see how everything,
1 year from final inspection.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay, and what about the early plan schedule?
That's good too. But you know, Glenn, I want to see the house plus that tree, right? If you put the tree first, or, I mean, the framing would go all up at the same time, probably. It's up to you. Glenn. I'm good with that. You want to do that?
I like the idea.
Okay. let's
Well,
do
if you get at least the windows framed, you don't have to have them in,
Yeah.
you'll know where they're
Yeah.
located.
it. Well, they can keep checking on. See how good. Okay. Add that in.
The condition of approval, early planting of trees.
I'll second that motion. I think that's it, right?
So that's part of the, during the construction, phase, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be before the construction starts.
Right, yeah, yeah, during construction,
And then bring it back to the Design Review Commission
one
following
year.
I would think staff review.
staff.
Stuff
I
like that.
mean, you
This is all
staff
doable,
understands the
yeah.
concept here.
Yeah. Keep everyone happy. Yeah,
Do you have a second?
He second.
You second?
yeah, I seconded, yeah.
And we're gonna vote,
Aye.
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 and I'm in favor of the motion. With that, we are gonna approve the project with the with regards to the condition of approvals, and that's it. So the applicant, we cannot start anything on site before 3 weeks that we have the appeal period.
It's at 14 days.
Oh, 14 days? Okay, sorry. 14 days appeal period.
Thanks.
So with that, we are going to move to item 6B, PR 15-22. R15 zoning request for a design review for renovation and addition to an existing single family residence, increasing the height from 22 foot 2 inches to 27 foot 7.5 inches. And adding 996 square feet living area for a total of 4,447 square feet. At 33 Chopper Court, so staff recommends the design review commission continue without discussion to May 8th, 2023. So we are not gonna take any action for this item.
And then we need to take a vote.
Oh, sorry, we are gonna, yeah, sorry, we are gonna take, make a vote. And,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion
To continue,
for the continuance to the
I'll second
selected
that.
date.
Second.
So we are gonna,
All in favor, aye.
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 and Armand is like, so we are gonna move on to the next item, new public hearings. We do not have any new public hearings. Next one is the art volunteer for April 14th.
I can cover that.
Thank you. So Glenn is volunteering for art meeting. Commissioners report.
No.
No, okay. And staff liaisons report. With that, we are gonna adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Good
Thank
job.
you.